Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Leaving a Rich Legacy. I'm your host, Jessica Rich, and I'm super excited to have my guest, Tiffany Turner, with us today to talk about real estate. This podcast is really a love letter to my younger self, and it's talking about various topics that we do not often discuss in the Black and Brown community. So I'm super excited to discuss how real estate can be beneficial, create generational wealth and just learn a little bit more if you are not aware. So, Tiffany, thank you for joining me.
Course.
And I would love for you just to share a little bit about yourself. Who is Tiffany?
Sure. Thank you first and foremost for having me on your show. I am delighted. Now, who is Tiffany? I was born and raised in Southern California. I have three sisters. I am the third of four siblings, all girls. We were raised in LA, and when I was around 13, 14 years old, my mother relocated us to the San Gabriel Valley, and that's where I spent all of my adolescent years. Following that, I relocated to Georgia as an adult. I've been here for approximately 10 years now. And on the professional side, I am a real estate broker. I have been in the real estate industry for approximately 16 years now. Real estate is my passion. I love what I do. I love assisting people in making one of the largest purchases of their life. So that's who Tiffany is. On another personal side, I am a mother. I am a aunt to four beautiful nieces and one handsome nephew. I have an amazing son. I have one son. And I just love life. I am well traveled. I love to travel. I believe in living, not surviving. I don't know where this surviving thing comes from people, but I love to live life and I love to give. And I'm just here to serve. So that's Tiffany.
Love it, love it, love it. So, tell me, Tiffany, what made you want to get into real estate?
Sure, that's a great question. So, my mother, I would say one Sunday out of every month, will take my sisters and I to visit model homes. And I remember this one time in particular, we were in Rancho Palos Verdes, beautiful area in Southern California, is off the Pacific Coast Highway, off of the cliff, beautiful views. And she took us to view these properties, and they were over $1 million back in the late 90s. Okay, so they were serious. These houses were beautiful. They were just gorgeous, custom made flooring, hardwood flooring, imported tiles coming in from Europe. I mean, the works. And my sisters and I will just envision ourselves living in these homes. So it definitely sparked something within inside of me. My mother taking us to these models' homes at least once a month. And I would just fantasize like, this is my life. This is how I'm supposed to live. This is my dog. We would even claim the rooms out of the house and everything. We was just such a great time. So my mother definitely instilled it in me. So fast forward 20 plus years, when I was 26, I've taken the California real estate exam, which is one of the hardest exams in the country. And I passed it on the first try. And I will never forget what my mom told me. She goes, Tiffany, you're going to change people's lives with real estate. And I had no clue what she was talking about back then, but I completely understand what she was saying now. So that's how I got started in desiring to go into real estate.
That is awesome. So I'm laughing just a little bit because I see a lot of Instagram posts where people will say they'll go and do like open house tours in homes that they know at the moment, was at the moment they cannot afford, but they just, they're manifesting it that one day that will be their dream home. So that's super cool that you get to be a part of that experience. So you've been in the real estate industry for 16 years. And one thing that is really important to me on my podcast and just all my platforms is understanding generational wealth. So, how can real estate contribute to generational wealth?
That is a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. I am definitely a huge advocate for generational wealth in the Black and Brown communities as well. So I'm very passionate about it. And there are various ways that we can create generational wealth. And I just believe that people just don't know how easy it is, especially with real estate. It's not as complex as it seems. The first key is just even real estate properties, owning them, they have a substantial amount of appreciation over time, right? So just by owning real estate, you have the availability and the flexibility to be able to advance your children's tuition, invest in income property, let's say rental, which is a steady income that's coming in for you and your family monthly that can help you pay down your primary mortgage even. So even just real estate within itself has so many different avenues that you can take to create that generational wealth. I always tell people to jump in if you're not in the game. I know that different markets are going to require different strategies, but definitely jump in the game. It's so lucrative to own real estate, and you have so many different tools and avenues that you could utilize in order to leverage the equity in your home to further your career. Let's say if you are an entrepreneur, let's say if you wanted to, if you are a real estate enthusiast and you want to just own properties, we could lease them out. There's so many different avenues you could go. So having real estate is one of the most lucrative ways that you can create generational wealth for yourself and or for your family. I'm a firm believer in it, not because this is my field, but I've seen it, I've lived it. So I know the benefits and the pros of owning real estate and how it can advance your life for your future and just for the better.
So let me ask you this. You are involved in a lot of transactions when it comes to real estate and in sales as well as purchases. Why do you think it's important to diversify your real estate portfolio?
Well, diversifying your real estate portfolio, it has the ability to reduce risk, right? So having the risk reduced is definitely a huge thing we all are obtaining, we are all striving for in real estate. There's so many different ways that we can go about diversifying our real estate portfolio. You can do property types. There's various property types. Even if we're just staying in the residential segment of it, you have personal single family individual homes, you have apartments, you have townhomes, you have 1 to 4 multifamily units that you can utilize that actually help diversify your portfolio. You have your geographical areas that help. Real estate is local, right? So just dipping and dabbing in various real estate markets help you diversify your portfolio. One particular area may not be doing as well as another. So you're not taking a huge hit on one, you're diversifying. So now it's a balancing itself out, right? There are investment vehicles that you can use that also help diversify your real estate. You have real estate investment trust, you have crowdfunding, and of course, you have your direct ownership also that you can utilize. Property size and scale also plays a role and help you with investing, and real estate funds help you. It's just so many different ways that you can do, but I always recommend even property use. I'm sorry, real quick. Property use, let's say if you wanted to purchase a mixture of different types of properties, right? We're seeing a lot now that these apartment buildings are being built and then underneath them they have retail underneath. So you have the stores underneath and you have the apartments. So let's say, for instance, what if by chance the market isn't doing really good with the retail, but on the upper end, apartment rentals and the rental income is sky rising. So do you see how the risk is kind of being depleted in there in a sense, because now you actually have two forms of different kinds of real estate income coming in, your retail may not be doing as well, but by you having a mixed use building, you actually can make more money off of the apartment side of that building instead of the retail, and even vice versa. So the market constantly changes, right? And there's no permanent way for us to know exactly what's going to go on. We could forecast the market, but we can't pinpoint exactly what's going to happen. So I love to diversify my real estate portfolio, own commercial property, own residential property, grab an apartment building, even grab some retail space, which is also considered, commercial. There's so many different avenues, and that depletes your risk a lot when you do that, instead of just focusing solely on just one type of property and one type of local area. Unless by chance that one local area is just a hit, then don't stop what you're doing. If you're winning in that one area, then just continue to do it. But in order to diversify your properties, I think that definitely helps. It's a plus for your real estate portfolio for sure. And it definitely reduces the risk, in my opinion.
So, speaking of that, I know where I live, there are a lot of apartment buildings that are now being built or condos, and you see a lot of retail, vacancies looking to lease out. So that definitely appears to be, more popular now. Let me ask you about the real estate market. The market has fluctuated quite a bit since 2020. And there are a lot of individuals who still desire to be first time homeowners. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to purchase a home, but, with the current market and maybe a little hesitant?
I always say get some skin in the game, right? I understand the market can be fearful. I'm a consumer at the same time. I am also a buyer at the same time buying properties in today's market. Get some skin in the game. If you don't own any property, I definitely will recommend to get in the game and just purchase property. You definitely want to have a strategy, right? So you want to make sure that you can, first and foremost, that you can afford. Don't get over your head, especially with interest rates being 7.5%. I believe today market was at 7.5% for a 30-year fixed FHA. If you cannot afford the house, then just don't get it at the time. If you can afford the house, definitely create a strategy to where you are paying down your bills. Do not get any new credit. Do not buy your furniture for your new house before you're living in your new house. Do not do that. I do not recommend getting those TJ Maxx, those Macy types credit cards. They're not good for your credit, especially while you're trying to purchase property. Pay down your debt. Do not obtain any type of negative inquiry. That's a huge, huge thing. Do not use your credit cards while you are in the midst of a transaction. So while you're under contract, do not charge anything on your credit cards. Do not get any new revolving credit, no type of credit at all. Literally, you're just stuck for this 30 to 45 days. And it's okay, right? Because you're moving on a macro level, you're moving to obtain this tremendous goal that is one of the biggest investments of your life. So you can sit down for 30 to 45 days, take care of your credit. Your credit will be the number one factor. Keep steady income coming in that you can prove to the lenders and the underwriters that you do have steady income coming in. You want to make sure that there's no debt, no past debt. Paying things down before you buy a house is a good indication that you are responsible, and it also gives you more capital. So when you do move into your home, you have money to do little touches that you may want to do. You may want to change the painting. You may want to, I don't know, update flooring, something minor. I would think that you're not moving in and just gutting out the entire house. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're keeping capital there. So try to spend as minimum as possible, pay down your debt, save money, do not open any type of revolving credit, no type of credit cards, pay down your credit cards. And that's it. That's basically, but I will definitely recommend, if you do not own anything, definitely get in the game, because if we fast forward 5 to 10 years from now, the way that the market, we could forecast it, right? But there's no permanent thing that it will happen. But the objective of owning property is for property to appreciate, right? So let's say you jump in the game this year, right? And interest rates are at 7.5%. You're very thorough with your finances, you're very responsible with them. 5 years from now, let's say the market may change, interest rate may change, they may not. I can't say they will or they won't, but you at least have skin in the game. And properties are not going down. Right now, today, property has been steadily rising up. They've just been going up slower versus just a huge hike, but they have still been accelerating. So that's something that you definitely want to think about as well if you are considering to buy. The prices are definitely moving up still. So that would be my advice.
Okay. I do want to ask you this about, so we're thinking about first time homeowners, and I had this conversation with someone a couple days ago, and the realtor was basically telling them just to purchase something. What about that individual who feels the pressure to just purchase something? Do you think it's important not to settle on your first home?
I think that you have to be realistic. I think that it doesn't matter if it's a first home, second home, third home. I've been doing this for 16 years. I still don't get everything until I build my dream home. Everything is not going to have all of the bells and whistles that I desire, right? Even with me purchasing rental property right now, I may have to change out the flooring. I may have to update the kitchen. It's just what it is, right? If the numbers make sense, then go for it. That's what I say. If it could check off, let's say 3 of 5 of the primary things, it should definitely check off the majority of what you desire. But just come in knowing that you're not going to have exactly everything that you want. I think that we do tend, and I have buyers like this as well. And I get it. I completely get it. You do want, because this is your investment, right? So why not? You do desire to have what you desire. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all do. But I do think that we need to understand that the amount of money that we can afford comfortably to invest in our property versus what we desire always is always on a competition, right? We want all of this, but we want it for this much, so you have to be able to be realistic with yourself. The property that we tend to want may cost 700,000, but we're only approved for 3. So we have to go and say, okay, what does a $300,000 house in the area that I desire, what does that look like? And we have to be realistic with ourselves and come back to the drawing board. And a good real estate professional will bring you back to that, right? I don't say just buy anything. Absolutely not. And I'm sure that the young lady or the young man, the real estate professional, probably didn't mean just buy anything, but you definitely want to make sure that you understand that you're not going to have everything that you desire. So I would say if it makes 3 of my 5 or 4 out of my 5, I'll go for it. But if it's only like 2, no, let's at least figure it out. Even if I have to bring more money to the table, maybe that's something that I need to adjust. Maybe I need to adjust with a new neighborhood. Maybe I need to adjust in the size of the house, the type of home. Maybe I'm looking for a single family when maybe my financials are saying, hey, buy a townhouse instead. Maybe I need to, invest in a different location based on the amount, how much it costs just to move 5-10 miles away makes a huge difference in a desirable neighborhood. So you have to take all of those things into considerations and factor those in. And in my book, I wrote a book, How to Purchase Your First House. It goes over that, your needs versus your wants, right? So you definitely want to make sure that you hit your needs. And your wants are things that you can live without, but the needs, you need those, right? So go for that type of property and be okay with compromising. Be okay with compromising. It'll be okay. Eventually you'll get to the point, I'll claim it now, you'll get to the point where you could build your custom home, your custom dream home that you will have all your bells and whistles. So just stay focused with that.
That's good. And I like that you said your needs versus your wants. I know when I went through the home buying process, I like really was on the low end, and one of my friends had to say like, you've worked hard. I think you can do better than what you keep sending me." Um, and that was just where I was at the time because I was like, "Oh, I just do a lot of, remodeling and go in and do renovations." And she's like, "I think you might want to just up it a little bit." So I think there's two sides to it. And I'm glad that you said that realistically, the realtor may be trying to keep you grounded, not necessarily settling, but just like, hey, I've got the experience. I know what this looks like. Really think about what you need versus what you want, especially if it's not your forever home. I think that sometimes we forget that as well,
Absolutely.
that you want everything to be checked off, and this may not be your forever home.
Right. The average person stay in their home between 9 and 11 years in the first home. So you definitely want to consider that. And there's so many different factors, right, on why you're purchasing the home. So go back to your why. Are you looking to be closer to your job? Are you looking for better school districts for the children? What exactly is your why in regards of the area that you want, the amount that you're spending? I love how you just mentioned your friend told you she had to bring you back and say, hey, you can afford more than this. So yeah, sometimes you do have to go back to the drawing board and just and get that professional opinion or someone that really cares for you just to show you like because it's scary, right? Especially purchasing your first house, it can be daunting. It's so many different stories out there that people get screwed over and things like that. So I completely understand, the fear that derives from purchasing your first home, but I definitely believe in having educated real estate professionals who objective is to make sure they reach your goal and not just theirs. So
That's
make
good.
sure that you have someone who is reputable, someone who sincerely cares. It's not about a check with the majority of us realtors. A lot of us do love to help, love to serve. You have the wisdom, you have the knowledge, and I love to just pour it back into people like, hey, I could teach you this strategy. If this is your goal, let me help you with this, or show me exactly what you're trying to do. And I can try to figure out how we could get you to that goal, you know? And being that a real estate professional is touching this industry every day, all day, at least 10 to 12 hours a day, we working. So we know there's a lot of different tools that you can utilize to reach your goal.
Speaking of just your experience and your passion, so over the last 6 years, you've seen a lot of success where between purchases and sales, if I'm correct, it's been about $500 million. Is that correct?
Yes, a little over 500 million.
That is huge. So how does that feel?
I feel okay. I've done this. I've worked exclusively for institutional investors. So, and I help them liquidate their asset portfolio and build their asset portfolio. So I feel accomplished in that area, right? For me, now it's more about me taking the wisdom, the knowledge that I have obtained from these companies and implementing them into my real estate brokerage firm and into the Black and Brown communities and just all over to let people know how simple it is to own property, how you can leverage real estate, how you can grow a real estate portfolio. I've done it for them and I've made them a ton of money. I made them a ton of money and it was a lot of hard work, but I wouldn't change anything. I wish it was for my brokerage instead of theirs. But you know what? I had to put in the work, right? And I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have those type of skills and those types of experiences that taught me a lot about what I'm doing today and how I can go out and help others and be a blessing to other people, hold these seminars and conferences and just teach people how to obtain this real estate, how it can help them build a generational wealth. So I'm happy about that, if that makes sense, but I really wish it was for myself bringing in that type of money. So I appreciate the opportunity, but now it's like game on. Let me do this for my own real estate brokerage and hit the grounds running. Because if I could do it for them, I could definitely do it for myself.
I know that's right. Absolutely. So you mentioned, just I want to touch on this. So you mentioned you've done like different webinars and you speak. So what type of services do you have that you offer to individuals who want to learn more about real estate?
Sure. For right now, I do host free monthly webinars, just educating the community, whoever wants to get on. I send out emails twice weekly indicating the next service that I have. I'm sorry, the next webinar that I have and the services that I do provide. I also do real estate consultations. I help people leverage their real estate. I help them come up with a strategy on what would be best for them. I also help them at times with project management when they want to flip houses. I just finished my second book, How to Flip Your First House. So I actually walk you through the process of purchasing a property, what it all looks like to buy the property, to renovate it and put it back on the market. So I do have a couple of clients that I do help there. And I actually also mentor new real estate professionals who are currently in the field. I am licensed in 12 states. I have my brokerage in Georgia, California, and Florida currently. So I'm pretty much available. I'm trying to make sure that I am establishing a lot so I can pour out a lot, right? So I want to make sure that there is enough information out there that I can help others and train other people up who can teach the same knowledge and the wisdom that I know, right? So that's what it's all about. Each one teach one. So I am delighted to offer all of those services to everyone. And then also just on Instagram or on like any type of social media, I'm sending out new updates on what's going on with the current market and things like that. So I believe that this information should be free, right? It's all over the place. So why not take advantage of it? I share the what's all the time. It's the how that you need to know, right? So those are my services that I offer.
I wanted to mention that only because you mentioned about like your webinar, and I've joined some. And then also with me being a first time homeowner, and my goal was never to stay in my home. It was always to eventually to rent. I know that your consultations are very helpful. And those are things that I think that definitely can be beneficial when it comes to everyone, but for the Black and Brown community, for us to really think about generational wealth. So when you think about just the Black and Brown community, and we're trying to build generational wealth, we're trying to educate ourselves. Why do you think it's important to have financial literacy when it comes to us stepping into this game?
I it's extremely important, right? So it's the having financial literacy is the base, it's our foundation. If we know how to obtain these properties, what to do with them once we have them, knowing that we're walking in with equity, knowing that we can save the capital before even moving into the house, different programs that will pay down payment assistance, things like that can help us with our generational wealth in the future, but we don't know those things, right? So I believe the 2022 US Census Bureau rates us Blacks and Hispanics poverty rate at 16.9%. Even though that's historically low, it's still high. When you're dealing with non-Hispanic whites below 12%, right? So knowledge is power. If we can pump the information, the knowledge, the wisdom out there to the Black and Brown communities, let them know how to obtain properties, how to save, how to have good credit, right? You have good credit, you're running things basically in the financial world, in real estate. That's the number one tool that we use our credit. There's no way around it unless you're just sitting on millions of dollars and you could just purchase things with cash. So just educating the community and letting people know that it's not as strenuous as it has been, the stigma about real estate and how daunting it can be and how stressful it can be. It can be stressful, and I'm not going to paint this fairy tale picture that it won't have its ups and downs. It will, but in the grand scheme of things, you definitely want to make sure that you are taking advantage of the wisdom and the knowledge that is being pumped out there for you to have. Especially a lot of times it's free wisdom, it's free knowledge. I'm not the only one that's holding free webinars. I'm sure there's a lot of us out there that care about the Black and Brown community that want to see us win. So it's all about that. Take advantage of it. The information that you're getting, it's priceless. You could just take it and run with it. I had one client, I think he called me in 2017. He owns over 20 properties right now. Over 20 properties. He's just going. And he didn't own anything. And now he's over 20 properties. And now he's teaching the game. And you can't be mad at it. That's what you want. I can't teach it to the world. Every one person can't just teach it to the world. So you want to make sure that you are laying your seed into others and let that seed grow and let them teach it and just have a puddle effect. And that's what it's all about to me, is us learning and actually implementing the wisdom that is being shared with us, so we no longer be in certain situations and our poverty rate is no longer at 16.9%. That we can be in the low tens and 11% with all of the other races. So why not? Why can't we? So if we could just take advantage of the wisdom and the knowledge that is being shared with us free at hand. I've never seen it in life as it is today, where you could just get on your phone. Everybody on Instagram is saying something smart, and if they're not, you shouldn't be following them, right? Every time you stroll, it should be somebody telling you something. It's some type of free game online. Take advantage of it and implement it. We could hear things all day, but it doesn't matter unless we implement it. So I definitely say let's go together as a team. We're all here together in this community. Let's learn from one another. Let's do what we have to do together, and let's all win together.
I can hear the passion in your voice. So, what's been the most rewarding experience for you as a real or being in the real estate game and throughout your 16-year experience?
I would say just being able to pour into people, guiding them into purchasing the one of the most largest investments of their life, seeing their lights lit up, their eyes lit up, I'm sorry, and just seeing how happy it makes them. And I played a role in that. So I'm good just there. I'm good there just knowing that I was able to assist you in making that purchase, or I was able to guide you and to just hear oh my God, Tiffany, thank you. I had a cloud over my head, but now I get it. Like, for me to just hear that, it just goes to say that, okay, I'm living out my purpose. It's confirmation. Like, okay, I'm doing what's right. And I just keep moving forward with that. So that's the most rewarding thing for me, is just to know that I am assisting people in helping them make the biggest purchases of their life. Because what else was you going to buy that's as large as a property, right? The majority of us are not buying yachts and jets and all of those good things, right? So it's a
Not
house.
yet.
So yeah, not yet. Exactly. Can we claim it? I will have a jet. I'm claiming that. But yeah, it's a house. So you want to make sure you're giving them that comfortability, and it's rewarding once you see that they did make the right decisions, that you probably had to talk them off the ledge a couple of times not to give up, and just to let them know, like, hey, this is normal. What is normal was not normal, what to expect. If a hiccup comes, this is not normal and we can rectify it. Things like that. Just pouring in and just assisting people in reaching their goals is rewarding enough for me.
So, you have all this experience and it's been great for you. One, thank you for sharing your knowledge. I think you're right. If you're getting all this free knowledge because social media has allowed us more access, how do you apply it and wanting to apply it? So, is there anything else that you would tell, one of the viewers who have thought about going into real estate, but just feel like it's too much Any advice that you would give them?
I would say call me. I need to understand more in depth. Like, why would you feel like it's too much? Is it family based that you feel like it's too much? It's a lot of different factors that could probably play involved in it. But if you're interested in going into real estate and investing in real estate, I would say definitely go for it. And you have great people, great knowledgeable people who can assist you every step of the way for sure. But I do believe in real estate. I do believe that it does help us to build generational wealth. I'm definitely an advocate for building generational wealth. And to me, this is one of the easiest ways to have longevity for generations to come, right? You could pass your house down, especially putting it in a trust. This is a whole nother different podcast, right? Putting your properties in trust, putting your properties in your business name, where you're having better taxes, property taxes, to where if anything was to happen, you could pass it down, and you're not hit with these huge taxes, right? Versus you just going through probate because you didn't have anything in place, and you didn't have your property in a trust, or you didn't have your property in a business name. So there's so many different steps to the real estate game, but I would definitely say just go for it. Just go for it. And if you need any assistance and you need any help, I'm here. There's so many people here to help you.
Awesome. Well, Tiffany, this is my favorite question of the podcast. As I said, this is like a love letter to my younger self. But if you could have a conversation with younger Tiffany, what would you tell her?
Oh, younger Tiffany, I would definitely tell younger Tiffany to stay focused, know your worth. As a young
Mm,
lady, know who you are, know how amazing you are, know who's inside of you, and live that out. Live out your anointing, live out your greatness. And don't chase after these boys. They go be here. They go always be here. Stay focused. Stay focused. Build yourself up. Keep your relationship with God number one. Love on yourself the same way God loves on you, and everything else is a wrap. That's exactly what I would tell my younger self.
I love it. That is like one of my favorite questions. Okay, so you shared a lot of knowledge today, and you did mention that you have some webinars that you offer. But how can people connect with you if they would like to reach out, whether that's the webinars, learn more about real estate, learn how to get into it, flip homes? How can we connect with you?
Sure. So my website is www.tcandcorealty.com. I am also on social media. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, my IG, TikTok. Everything is tc.and.co. That's tc.and.co. My company name is TC and Co, a prestigious brokerage firm. I offer consultations on the website. You can even go over there and just see whether or not if a particular property qualify for down payment assistance. There's a lot of cool tools on the website you could go there and play around with that can help you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for Tiffany sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us and how real estate really can, be a part of generational wealth. So I really enjoyed our conversation and look forward to having you back on the podcast in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a delight being on your podcast, Jessica. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.